All right, welcome to this episode of News Buzz. Today we're going to just look at a few headlines. Let's talk about euthanasia, another pleasant
Last.
topic that Chris gets to talk about. All right, if Canada apparently is the groundbreaking country in so many ways these days. One of the ways is they decided that it's okay for everyone to just kill themselves if they feel like their life is miserable, and they now the second or first leading cause of death, one of the two in Canada, is actually you just getting your doctor to kill you. Um, Sounds insane, but that's actually real. And then this year, or last end of last year, they proposed why not if kids could do that too, without their parents' permission. And the Canadians were like, "Yeah, that's cool." And so at the beginning of this year, that became law in Canada. So now, if you're like a kid and you want to kill yourself, you just have to go to the doctor and say, "I'm depressed," and the doctor can kill you. So and they sell it to you. It's not like they like try and say, "No, don't kill yourself, Johnny." They actually like there's some RT did this great documentary about this because it's like basically the only news source that could possibly fund a documentary about this. But they talked to guys who were like had cancer, and the Canadian state like drug its feet in treating the cancer. Um, but at the same time, they kept calling him and asking him, "Are you sure you don't want to kill yourself?" And they say it in a cute way. They're like, "Are you sure you don't want to accept the opportunity of a maid?" They call it maid as medical assistance in dying. They're like, "Would you like the opportunity for maid? Like it's a great opportunity. Like, oh, would you like this job
Yeah.
opportunity for life to go have?" And I know this personally is happening because my one of my relatives was killed this way, and he didn't he had recently recovered from cancer. He was like doing well, and they convinced him last year to kill himself. So, I mean, a lot of my
That's
relatives
very
here
sad.
in the U.S. were very upset about that. But the propaganda around him killing himself was so great that he was apparently very happy and excited to go do it, and his wife was like supportive of it because they have this whole team of psychologists to like convince you that this is the way you should do, like this is a great step in your future is to go kill yourself. And so I personally saw how this happened psychologically around family members, and it's very terrible. It's total psychological abuse. It's just like an abuser like convincing anyone to do anything. This is just a crazy policy. And nobody likes suffering, so it's like, I mean, people shouldn't suffer, but this is way beyond that. This is people who are walking in perfectly healthy and cognizant and aware of everything. These aren't people who are just like, a potato or a vegetable or whatever on a bed for 6 months and then they're never going to recover. This is not that. These are people who are, uh, you know, this is insane. Anyway, Netherlands I guess, looked at Canada and was like, "Hey, let us in on this action." So now Netherlands legalize euthanasia for kids. So below 12, actually. I don't think in Canada it's below 12. I think it's just teenagers in Canada. But so my term of kids is loosely being used. But it's for adolescents in Canada who have believed themselves to be mentally ill. They can request it without their parents' permission. And now in Netherlands, if you have a between the ages of 1 and 12, the government says I don't know, I didn't see what the deal with the parental permission is, but it sounds like if you got a 5-year-old who you think would be better off dead, you can somehow get them killed by the state. That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, because these
Yeah.
doctors are eager to kill kids, as far as I can see. Like they have not a lot. As long as you can make it sound like the kid, I don't know, has some terrible food allergy or something. That's what it sounds like. If you make it sound like I mean, because in Canada they had a clothing commercial. There's some sick company in Canada that sells clothing for you to wear when they kill you. So it's like they have a whole line of clothing that's supposed to be like the last clothes you'll ever wear. It's so beautiful. You go die in this beautiful clothing. So it's like a fashion company for you to be killed in, and it's a whole new thing. It's supposed to be great. So they have this whole commercial. It's a beautiful commercial with this like wonderful woman dressed up and sitting on the beach or whatever. So it turns out, and that lady actually is killed. So she's an actress in their commercial, and then she's also killed by the state. After the commercial was filmed, and then they use her the commercial to sell the clothing for more people to buy clothing for them to be killed in. And it's I can't even believe this is happening. Like that rational people have figured out a way to make this seem cool, but it's happening. Anyway, that lady in that commercial, her deal was she had an allergy to like dust. That was the reason, and she couldn't find living. She couldn't afford to find housing that didn't have this thing that she was allergic to, this dust. So she was having to sneeze all the time, and that's why she killed herself. So it's like that is insane to me, but that's where we are now.
Not too many people. Yeah,
Sneeze
there
a
was
bunch,
actually any.
kill yourself,
Yeah,
and the state supports you in it, and they tell you it's great, and it's
exactly.
an opportunity for you. And now the
There was
Netherlands is
actually
doing it for kids. So if your kid got a peanut allergy, he might have a terrible life. So I don't know. Someone needs to come rescue the West at some point. There's got to be an intervention, a humanitarian intervention.
yeah. I mean, nobody can save the West unless people actually wake up to all the scams they're being sold in. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Iran's
There
calling
was
for it.
actually,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, there was an Iranian expat living in Canada who became homeless, and he wanted to apply for that MAID or medically assisted suicide in Canada. And then I saw there was like a GoFundMe project, and people actually knew him. Like I knew people who actually knew him, and they raised funds to find a shelter for him until because he was also, I mean, he had some diseases and which made it very difficult for him to work, I think. And uh, fortunately, he was saved. In He was very grateful to all those Iranians and non-Iranians who helped him reverse that decision. But that's Canada's solution to homelessness too. Like if you can't find a home, okay, come and we just kill you and your problem is solved. That's the
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of brilliant when you think of it, because the West has obviously, especially like, I don't know how long that's going to be till it comes to America, but America would definitely benefit. I mean, the American system, the way it's set up, would definitely benefit from having open euthanasia, because, like, at least in Canada, you can get some public assistance or whatever. I mean, here you can't at all. So there's some logic to just letting people kill themselves because the system doesn't work.
right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's better. I mean, I guess it'd be easy to buy a gun. I guess that you can do it yourself, but like, it's yeah, but it's pretty sick when you have medical professionals who are supposed to be about protecting human life killing
That's
kids. They're killing kids now in the Netherlands. Like, and then people are like, "Yeah, we're so progressive and life is great." I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the difference is, honestly, in funding Israelis to kill kids in Gaza or killing your own kids. I don't know, but it just seems like we reached a point in the moral Olympics where, yeah, there's got to be some gold medals awarded soon, because
That's
the
true.
ability to jump over these moral hurdles is pretty insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we want to like to just wrap it up to wrap this episode up, let's just do with one piece of good news too, and that's the prisoner swap between Saudi Arabia and Yemen after there was rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran and other countries in the region. The two countries decided to swap prisoners, and decided to finish the war, which has killed and made a lot of Yemenis homeless and sinking into poverty. But that's the good news to end this episode with.
Yeah, well, I hope it's genuine. I mean, this is the thing, like that whole rapprochement in between a number of countries happened like the last couple weeks, and it seems so fast. But I think at the same time, it may have been bottled up for a while, and like the only way to achieve that end was to have it where everyone did it at once, where it happened all within a. So it was like a blitzkrieg against the U.S. war machine, because the U.S. foreign policy, if it smells those things happening, it has a way of going in and stopping them. And so if you just do all that activity at once between Russia and Iran and China and Egypt was even involved. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. And then you saw the weak attempts, like the U.S. saying, "Oh, Egypt's trying to sell rockets." I mean, that was all a way of like getting back at Egypt, saying it wanted to increase ties with Iran, and like they were just these pathetic U.S. because they weren't prepared. So it might have been a real coup against the U.S. war machine, and I hope that's what it was. It seems like that's what it was, and I think if you examine some of the recent history in the region, you could come to the conclusion that there's been this desire to have this rapprochement for a while, and it's just been constantly rebuked with crazy things that have come in the way, like the Khashoggi and these kind of things, which just like kept Saudi Arabia in check. So
actually, when the U.S. assassinated General Soleimani, he was on a diplomatic mission in Iraq to start resuming relations between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and that's probably definitely one reason the U.S. wanted to assassinate him.
What year did that happen?
2020, I think it was January 2020. Yeah.
So like 2 years before that is when the Khashoggi thing happened, and my theory on that is that I think Saudi Arabia killed Khashoggi, but I think a lot of the gory details of that killing we have no evidence for. So it's very likely that it was elaborated to put pressure on. They made a more gruesome story out of an already gruesome crime, so that MBS couldn't say, "Oh, I didn't do that part." Like he couldn't go back. He couldn't say I'm innocent because he's not innocent. But the U.S. concocted up a more insane story about chopping people up and things like that, so that they could go back to MBS and they could say, "Look, MBS, we have control of this machine. We can make you into a Gaddafi. We can get the world to hate you, and then we can kill you, and nobody will care." And so that to me seems like they've been putting pressure on Saudi Arabia for a while. And MBS's natural reaction to that was that hotel coup, or that hotel hostage situation that he had, where he cleaned house of his of people who were not loyal to him. That would have been a natural reaction to this kind of crazy media campaign against him. So I don't know. I mean, I think he's definitely a violent thug, but I think the West are far more violent thugs, and they can put the pinch on people whenever they want. And this whole rapprochement, I mean, like they murdered Soleimani openly in another country, and this basically the whole world was like, meh. So that's how much the thugs in the West are, because everyone can't do anything. Everyone's afraid of them. And, luckily Iran was able to bite back with that bombing of the Marines there. And I'm sure there was multiple hundreds of Americans who were killed or wounded in that. It was just covered up. But that, that shows you that there are these mafia members where just like, so this is what I'm saying. This whole rapprochement happening very quickly at once and seeming like a shock and awe campaign of peace makes sense if you're in you have these gangsters all lined up against you. You can't do it gradually because they'll they'll push you back down. But if you do it all at once, what can they do? What can the U.S. be like? No, y'all should be fighting again. I don't know.
Yeah. Hopefully, we will see some practical impact from that. I mean, so far, it sounds it's going to be very beneficial to the region, but we have to wait until we can make a final judgment on where all these rapprochements are going to. Okay, so thank you for listening to another episode of Twice Told Tales podcast and the News Buzz series. Don't forget to share this video, to subscribe to our channel, and activate the notifications. See you soon in the next episodes.
All right.